And we are here. What is going on with everybody? It's your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in this plain white dungeon today, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I have somebody on the other line. I'm going to let him introduce himself, man. Who do we have today?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hot out of the oven like a sweet brisket, dripping with juice. Marc Rebillet, how you doing?
Hey, man. I just want to start us off by saying briskets are pretty disgusting, man. So gotta start off that way, man. It's just really disgusting
You,
food,
you
man.
don't like brisket?
Do not like brisket, man. You're a brisket guy?
Oh yeah, man, you're missing out. I'm from Dallas originally. I'm a big barbecue slut.
I love barbecue, but like I don't know, I'm a really picky. I have like a baby mouth. Like I really eat very like a little amount of things. Like, do you have like a
Oh
extravagant
really?
taste? Yeah, I'm from Florida, and like it's really country down here. So people eat like pig and frog and
Yeah.
raccoon, and it's really crazy. Are you that type of person? Do you eat like wild like animals and stuff?
Oh yeah, I'll eat whatever you put in front of me if it's good. I I did a show in Tampa a while back in Ybor City, which is like a big Haitian center,
Mm-hmm.
and I went over to this dude who like made me this crazy ass chicken soup that was made from like all sorts of different chicken parts, and there were like slices of aloe plant in there, and he was shoving aloe into people's feet. I love that shit. If it's tasty, you can put whatever the fuck you want in there, as far as I'm concerned.
I think the craziest thing that I've ever seen, and like the way that it was presented to me, I was with this African dude I know, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "My family, man, they're really good cooks." He was like, "You should try some of their food." And I'm like, "All right,
Yeah.
man." I was like, really picky, so I go over his house and to eat. His dad had cooked some like weird thing, and I'm like, "What is this?" And they had like strong African accents. He was like, "Oh," he was like, "You don't know what this is?" I was like, "No, what is it?" He was like, "This is African coochie." I mean, no, he said it's octopus coochie. I said, "Octopus coochie?" I was like, "What the fuck is octopus coochie?" And like they were just eating like, "Mwah, mwah, mwah." And I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy. You're eating octopus vagina."
Jesus
Didn't know
Christ.
octopus vagina was even a thing, but they were goddamn going ham on it. So yeah, man, I'm not.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't. I didn't even know that octopi had
Hey man, me neither. It's that's really crazy. But yeah, man. So
octocoochie.
Octopus Coochie is really crazy, but you might have to sample that in your next song, man. You might have to
Yeah,
make a song
dude.
about
Yeah,
Octopus Coochie.
little octo.
Oh man, but no, man. What are you doing today, man? Do you have anything planned for today?
Oh, hold on a second. Oh.
Can you hear me? Are we
How we
good?
doing?
Are we good? Can you
We
hear me?
back?
Can you hear me? We
Yeah, I
good?
can hear you.
All right, cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool. No, yeah, I was asking. What do you have planned for today, man?
What do I plan today?
Hey, what do you have planned for today?
Oh man, I'm working on. Well, I'm kind of like messing around with how I'm going to write and record this album I'm working on this summer. I'm trying to do an album that is like produced and composed, and you know, I wouldn't say a lot different from my video stuff, but it'll certainly be richer and bigger and more composed. It's just shit that I can't do on the loop station, you know? And so I'm kind of fucking around with how I'm going to do that, like how I'm going to approach it. If I'm just going to do it in Logic, or if I'm going to try a more mobile setup, maybe like an iPad thing. I'm just not sure. So I'm kind of fucking around with that, going to Guitar Center and checking out some of their different keyboard options, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just playing around because I haven't produced sort of traditionally in quite a while. So I need to get comfortable with that again. It's a different kind of setup, you know.
So for the people who've never like listened to you before, you talked about your loops and things like that. How would you explain your like style to somebody who's very new to you?
That's a good question. I would say it's ridiculous, sort of improvised one man show. I make up songs on the fly. I improvise them. I would say probably mostly in the like funk, dance, soul um, genre. Hip hop for sure in there as well. And yeah, I just make shit up and then sing whatever or rap whatever stupid shit I want to over it, and then I call it a day. Yeah, that's, I guess, the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, your style is definitely like it's a one of a kind, unique thing, and I feel like I bring this up every interview I do, but I just thought it was so interesting. I interviewed this dude. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. He's a pretty big YouTuber, a dude named Bill Wurtz.
Oh yeah, dude.
So yeah, interview
He's insanely talented.
interview Bill Wurtz. Very interesting human to talk to, right? Very interesting guy.
I bet. Yeah.
So I asked him, like, I basically tell him that I feel like a lot of people miss out on the small intricacies just in life. Like people really just like miss out on very small things. And he said that he disagreed with that very big because he feels like people miss out on the big things. And I said, well,
Oh, interesting.
can you give me an example? And he said basically, just because the main question was, are there very small, intricate things that inspire you, not even in music, to do
I do.
things?
Hey, hold on a second. Someone's coming up to me. Right? What's up,
got a
dude?
fan.
How you doing?
You're awesome.
Hey, thanks, man.
You're awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry. I have to sorry.
I got to take a second.
It's all good. That's all good.
Sorry,
I'm
dude.
keeping this all in. That's
God.
good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm just doing an interview right now. Yes. Hey.
Sorry,
What's
everybody.
up, baby?
Makes bangers, man.
Hey.
Incredible right here. This guy,
Thanks.
this guy,
Thank
straight
you.
music. I'm gonna make music with him one day. I promise. Keep eyes on.
Hey.
What's going on,
We're gonna
man?
make music.
Thanks, man. Thanks for listening to the shit. I appreciate you.
I literally have it. So you're downloaded in the mother flipping eyes.
Hey. No, you're good.
In there.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. There's another one on my page too. Check out there's another one. There's an EP on there too. Check that shit out. Yes, sir.
I'm a drummer, so I'm like,
Oh, cool. Hell yeah, dude.
me is like, music is life.
That's everything.
Art.
That's
So,
everything.
you know, art is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate
You made
it.
your day. You made my day.
Oh, thank you, dude. Yes. Yes.
Daniel, and last nation.
Yeah. One more, because I'm in the middle of an interview right now. Sorry, dude.
Sorry, sir.
No, you're good.
Nah,
You're
it's all good. This is perfect.
Hey. You're awesome.
Thanks for listening, dude. See ya.
So how
What up?
how often
Sorry,
how often does that happen? Like you getting stopped by fans?
I mean, more and more often these days, for sure. Like at least once a day. Yeah, dude. Yeah, because I mean, it's a big ass city, and there's a lot of people around all the time. So, you know, I need to start wearing a fucking Leonardo DiCaprio baseball cap or some shit.
Are you in New York right now?
Yeah, that's where I live.
So being from Dallas and moving to New York, I would imagine that's like a pretty big like culture shock.
It was a little bit, but I grew up. I was born in Dallas, and I spent a good part of my childhood in Englewood, New Jersey, which is just like 5 minutes away from the George Washington Bridge. And so I spent a lot of time as a kid in the city, and I've always really, really enjoyed it here. And I also lived here before I moved back. I moved back here in August of last year, but before that, I lived here for a couple of years. So I'm used to the pace and the energy here, and I really like it. It keeps me busy, and yeah, dude, it's always moving, and I need to be always moving, and I'm not really good about always moving. So if I can be in a place that sort of forces me to do that, it helps, you know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he came up to you because literally last night I was talking to my friend about like being a famous person and people coming up to you asking for pictures, and like when is it like annoying and like how do you go about it, because you don't want to be the dickhead who's like not right now and they're like, oh, Mark, he's a fucking idiot, you know what I'm saying, you go on Twitter just going crazy.
Yeah.
So how, like, has there ever been a time where you were doing something, you weren't in the mood, somebody came up for a picture or anything, and you just had to decline? Like, has there ever been a time that happened?
Not really. I mean, the only time that sort of thing happens is like right after a show. You know, sometimes I'll need like 15 minutes to just chill and like to wind the fuck down because it's a very high energy show. And so, yeah, like I have declined quite a few pictures right after a show, but on the street, like in public, never. I think that's absolutely like, dude, if you're doing this for a living, you asked for this shit. You know what I mean? Like, this is part of the job. So you absolutely owe it to the people who are listening and supporting your shit to, like, yeah, that is part of the job description. I don't think you should ever turn that shit down. Even if I'm in the middle of, like, a conversation with someone, it takes 30 seconds and it makes someone's day. So, I don't know. It's part of the job.
No, I agree. But yeah, I guess going back to the Bill Wurtz thing, the question
Yes.
for him, the question to him was, are there very small, intricate things in life? It doesn't have to be with music that inspire your art. And he was like, it's really the more obvious things. And I asked for an example, and he was talking about the movie Blade Runner, and the lighting in Blade Runner just inspired him to like make a song or whatever. It was just so inspiring. So I see you as like a very eccentric person, the way you make music and come up with ideas. Are there very small things or very obvious things that don't have to do with music, but just things in life that has recently inspired you or always inspire you? It could be just like a tree or a building, and it's like, yo, this makes me want to go create something.
Absolutely, yeah. I get inspired by tech. For me, it's more human behavioral things. I'm very attuned to that. I don't know why, but that's just what I respond to, is like like conversational behavioral subtleties and stuff that just really I don't know, they tickle me or they make me think about shit. You know, and I write down those things all the time because I make my shows up, but like I will write down little things to think about during a show that I can sort of bust out and maybe work off of to make a song or just use as a bit. Like I was talking with a friend of mine about this thing that like people will do in polite company if you're like with someone, if you're like with a date or your wife or something, and you're like that they're embarrassing you, but you don't want to like let the people you're talking to know that they're embarrassing you. You're like, oh yeah, you know, Shelley, that's hilarious. Yeah, that's great. Will you excuse me for just 1 second? You are embarrassing. You are embarrassing me. And then you just go right back to like, oh yeah, no, the stock market. I know, that's great. Can you just give me just a second? Will you shut the fuck up? You know, it's like that sort of like the back and forth of like being extremely upset to just being totally delightful. I just think that's hilarious. So it's like a bunch of little shit like that, and observational things about people and the things they do, and I also like office work a lot. That shit cracks me up, like just having to hide who you really are because you're like at the office and you have to, but like, you know, everyone is still exactly who they are. You just have to like be the office version of that. I find that very funny. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of little day-to-day shits, like behavioral stuff I like a lot.
Well, no, I think that ties in perfectly because I took this class. I took sociology, and that's really like sociology right there, just like the study of why humans do what they do, right? And the thing that
Yeah.
you just said about like people like kind of not really acting themselves and they're putting on the front, that's this thing called dramaturgical. It's like this whole like idea where it's like a play, and it's like the front stage is what you put on to like people. So like when he's like, haha, it's really funny, that's not really himself. He's like putting on an act. But backstage is when you reveal who you actually are and you're more comfortable. So for example, when you're at work, you might be chilling, you might be doing something, and you see the boss come in, and you're like, oh, I gotta hurry and like pretend to do work. As you plan the front stage up and like, oh, I'm gonna pretend to act like I'm doing work. But when the boss leaves, you're like, all right, now I could take my clothes off and be a little bit more myself. So yeah, I think that's really
Right.
interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and there's all these little intricate shifts in your posture and in your vocal intonation and in everything that you choose to say or choose not to say when you decide to make that shift between like, I'm just chilling and the boss is here. There's like a million little things that happen in your mind and body. And I don't know. I find that really funny. Like, we can't be ourselves all the time.
I mean, like, yeah, like if I'm like calling the doctor's office or whatever, I'm not speaking in my I don't know, my voice if I would just talk to my friends, you know? Like I would be, you know,
Exactly.
I'm talking way more proper. I'm trying to enunciate every word, you know? So that's how it is. So are you like into like sociology and psychology? Is that something you're into?
I wouldn't say in any formal or academic way. I am interested in that, I guess, just in concept.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my mom is a clinical psychologist, and
Okay.
so, like, I definitely asked her a lot about that growing up, and it's definitely something that interests me. But I'm not going to pretend like I've ever read a book on it.
Okay. And I guess speaking of Bill Wurtz and YouTubers, I always do this. I'd be remiss if I didn't. But if I interview somebody and they resemble somebody, I have to tell them. So I don't know if you've ever got this before, but I'll just take a guess at it. Has anybody ever said you look like a YouTuber?
Yes, I think I've gotten two. I've gotten um, Anthony Fantano and iDubbbz.
Mm. I was definitely going Anthony Fantano. Yeah, you definitely look
Yeah,
like
man.
you like Anthony Fantano with hair and slimmed down. Exactly.
Right, right, dude. Fantano's awesome. I did a couple videos with him. He's just the best.
Nice.
He's such a cool dude.
I always have to shout him out. He's a really good guy. Always helps me out. So yeah, shout out to Fantano. Really, really good guy.
Huge shout out to
Really, really good
Melonhead.
guy.
He's
Yeah.
fucking
It's
great.
great. It's like sometimes when you meet people, you expect to be one way, but then you're like, wow, it's like a really like nice, genuine person, you know? So
Oh yeah, dude. He's just a gentle dude.
yeah,
Just a
a
gentle
big
dude.
gentle
And
guy.
also, like, shout out to someone who's putting in the fucking work day in and day out. Like, I could never put out the kind of work that dude does. Just like every fucking day, he is on it.
Like you know how much music he has to intake to do like a review every day and like every like different genres. Like my mind would probably I would go crazy.
Yeah, dude. I would too. I would too. It's incredible.
Is there like a time where you have to like slow down your work pace because somebody who really has a crazy work pace is somebody like Bill Wurtz like his schedule he was telling me about it and it's really ridiculous. So do you have a schedule or do you have a way that you know put out like I guess your content in a very like formatic way?
No, I have tried to do that. In fact, recently, I mean, I've set up a schedule for myself that's more business oriented, that like helps me sort of run my little business here. But that's more on like the administrative side of shit, where like calendars and emails and press and all that stuff. But like, when it comes down to making shit, I can't rely. I don't know. I'm just not good at making a schedule for myself with that stuff. I'm not good at it. I really admire and envy people like Bill Wurtz. I've watched interviews with him, and that dude he's just on another level. I mean, musically, he's on another level. Intellectually, he's on another level. And it's just something that I will never be able to do. I will never be able to operate on that kind of manic, obsessive, endless work level. I'm much more of a normal person in that sense, in that like I'm making music when I'm feeling it. I'm definitely forcing myself to get in front of my equipment more often these days because it is my job. So like I'm doing that more often, but I rely on my creative whims. Like I have to have an idea that I think is good. I'm very much victim to my creative whatever, like peak. Like whenever it peaks, like I have to take advantage of that when it happens. It's not. I'm very bad at scheduling that kind of shit.
See, like that's why I'm so interested in like psychology and sociology is because like I want to understand like how does somebody like Bill Wurtz have that type of like mindset to do what he does all the time, and even like you, I'm like very interested like how a person like you can just take like nothing and make it something. Like I feel like that stems from something because not everybody can do that. Like it's something like wired
Well,
differently in your brain that allows you to create like that.
yeah, I mean, I wish I could answer that question better for myself, honestly,
Yeah.
because that would help me to like establish a healthier routine for the shit that I make. But like, something that does help is at least like having a small audience definitely helps because you feel somewhat accountable to that. And so like when I say, if I decide 3 days out that I'm going to do a live stream, on Sunday, let's say, like I just did one Friday that I was going to do one on Sunday. So that was set in stone. I know I'm going to do it. I'm held accountable. I schedule it. There's people waiting to see it. It's happening.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I know that I'm going to get 2 hours to be free and creative and do whatever the fuck I want. That's great. But when it comes to like making a video, it's much more difficult for me because like I have to set my shit up and then I'm not playing for anybody. It's just myself. So like I have to basically just spend like 3 or 4 hours fucking around until I find some idea that I think is like good enough to be a video. It's all very abstract and there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like, and that's very much the way my performances and my videos are too. There's like really no rhyme or reason. It's like, it's born out of an idea that I have at that moment that just feels right. And I feel like someone like Bill Wurtz is much more, even though his ideas are abstract, his videos and his content and the music is much more calculated.
Yeah.
I mean, like he spends hours and hours and hours editing that shit and like, he's like a calculator. I mean, the dude is just so insane with his craft. I am not that way at all. Like my shit, and I think also that's probably what, at least that's what I've heard, is what people enjoy about my stuff is that it is very whatever, like it's very off the cuff, and I am just making it up, and so I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the way I don't know. It's just interesting studying humans and whatnot, and just seeing what makes people do what they do or whatnot. And yeah, man,
for sure,
you might have to go pick up a sociology book, man. You might, what I'm saying, you might be aware of more stuff, man. You might, man.
I absolutely should.
You might, man. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like I said, people like you, Bill Wurtz, Fantano, you guys are very very interesting people. And I was very curious, like, did you grow up like with any like formal training in music?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been playing piano since I was a kid, so I was like 5, and that's all credit to my parents who forced me. Oh, you still there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, cool. It just says poor connection, but yeah. That's my parents who forced me to do that since I was a little kid, and so yeah, I trained classically from about 5 to 15 or 16. I stopped classical at that point, and then I sort of taught myself improvisational blues, a little bit of jazz, and then lessons for a few years thereafter, here and there, private lessons. And then I guess I did some choir stuff and musical theater. And then I've been acting also since I was about 5 years old. So, like, this sort of setup and the shows especially are very much like a combination of, the piano background and acting. And then, I've been trying to make music and produce in some capacity for like the last 12 years. So getting to know Logic and getting to know Mainstage and getting to know Contact and Reason and all of these instrument libraries and custom drum kits, and it's sort of all of that stuff has come together, and I've tried to make it as simple as possible for myself to just cue up instruments and play them.
Where does the humor come from? Because you're a pretty funny guy.
Oh, thanks, dude. The humor comes from, I don't know, it's just my sense, it's my sensibility, it's my sense of humor. It's probably a lot of the acting too has been a big help for that, knowing how scenes and dialogue work, and so I'm able to sort of create dialogues with myself. I also I find very specific things very funny.
Yeah.
And so, I just do that, and I hope that other people find that funny too. I don't know. Like I said, there's so little thought that goes into it. I always have a very hard time like dissecting my whatever the process and stuff, because there's like, outside of what I have set up, like my music setup, there's very little that I think about other than like does this make me, like, does this feel right?
Yeah.
It's like a very much an instinct based. Does the music feel dope? Does what I'm doing feel funny? And if it passes that line for me, then I will just say it or make it.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like something I realized about you. I don't know if it's subconsciously, but you have like a very big like thing on like tone and like inflection. So like if you're doing a voice, you'll switch up your voice like depending the mood. So if you're trying to go for like a funny super high mood, I don't know if you realize this, but like you do weird things with your inflections and whatnot. I don't know if that's like a subconscious thing, but I feel like that's really like very it's very like important to your music or whatnot. Like every time I look at a video, like you'll do like the like you'll do like a funny voice or whatnot, and it'll be like high or low. I don't know. There's maybe like a subconscious thing, but tones and like the type of inflections, they're very like they vary in your music depending on what you're going for. I can realize that.
For sure, yeah. No, it definitely is subconscious. I mean, I'm just trying to match vocally the style of, like, if I'm doing a little bit, a character bit, I'm just trying to match what I think that sounds like. Or if I'm doing a particular kind of music, then I'm definitely trying to just match rhythmically, tonally, whatever I think that is. And it's funny that you say that, because someone I was just talking to mentioned that to me the other day. They were like, you it's just like your voice like changes a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that on purpose at all. It's like, just, I don't know. I guess that's part of the acting thing too. I'm just trying to match tone, match vibe, match style. It's important to do that so that you sound like you know what you're doing, even if you don't.
I agree. I don't want to keep you for too long, man. So, is there anything else you have to say before we get out of here, man?
Well, I definitely want to plug my tour. It's called the Comeback Tour. It's September through December. I'm doing the U.S., Canada, and Europe. Major cities in all of those places. You can just go to my website, marcrebillet.com, and there's a bunch of dates that are sold out, but there's still a bunch that are left. And so, like, definitely come see me. The live show is a whole different beast. The whole show is made up from beginning to end. I have no set list, no plan, and I basically just go fucking crazy for an hour, and it's a blast. Sometimes people come up and lick my body. Sometimes I get naked. Sometimes the crowd gets naked. It's a crazy show. It's a lot of fun.
Do you work out? Because it seems very it seems very tiring.
Oh, well, thanks, dude. Yeah, I mean, I do, but it's a very light sort of workout regimen. I work out in my apartment or in a hotel, and it's like a body weight workout, you know. But I definitely try and keep it like 3 times a week. It's just, you got to keep the body tight, you know.
I feel you, man. So for the people watching, I just want to say shout out to everybody. Until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters are gonna hate, players are gonna play, and you guys holla at your boy.